This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search from my site. This is Postmates Final. In this final video, I am soliciting for nothing. In the series that completes here, I was soliciting for people to use my name as a referral and they would pay me a bonus. My relationship with Postmates is severed, and I will be paid nothing more than what I have earned to date that's not yet paid, which is like $200. So the possibility of earning a bonus for enrolling someone is nada. I did come to understand that my initial videos, I called them Postmates Training Novice, were listened to by the office, and the guy who I mentioned repeatedly sort of was flattered. At least he wasn't insulted, and people in the office sort of joked about him. So doing media in this format, feedback is, for me, it's become more common, but it's still rare. And feedback that's sort of memorable and gives some social connection to it, rather than just a stranger on a YouTube, is extremely rare. But today I got it. So my relationship with Postmates came beginning, middle, and end, and there is possibility with a 6-month idle period that I can resume, but in 6 months, am I going to restart with Postmates? Okay, maybe. But I do have to declare that this is final, though in 6 months I could do it again. I honestly might. So this joking around their office that has now been disclosed to me is just a pure pleasure. I know that delivery people came and went, and I know that I was not in the office, which is probably one of the problems that got me terminated. However, that really softens the blow. Those people will remember me, and that to me is fun. So I wrote today, I'm going to go through some tweets. In review, I suddenly, 2 days ago, I think today's Wednesday. So Monday, 4 o'clock, I go to online, and notice says, nope. All these screenshots are on Twitter, and they're also featured in the videos. I was after office hours on Monday, and there are no offers on office hours on Tuesday. So today, 10 to noon, I'm there, and I'm face-to-face with a Postmate Management Pro. And the lesson I learned, I wrote about. So listeners, I try to address 3 different audiences. Everybody, Postmates in New York, Postmates out of New York. I think there is no reason I foresee needing to address Postmates in New York. So in this video, I'm going to speak to Postmates people. I think there's some relevant things to say about Postmates, but I think they apply equally to New York as out of New York. I'm not talking about a map, and I'm not talking about a specific restaurant. I think this severing is equally applicable to all Postmates. And then just the emotional trauma that I went through today is, of course, E for everybody. I wish I could figure out how to make an E. I don't know if it's like that or like that. I can't see myself through the screen. So E for everybody. One of those is a 3, and one of them is an E. So whichever one is the E, E for everybody is the emotional trauma of what I experienced today. I will repeat what I've said before and what I've known about myself for a couple of decades, is that writing is my gig to emotional recovery. And today it worked like you take a stone and you drop it to the pavement and it's going to hit the pavement. Emotional trauma healing is less predictable. But with my process today, with my writing, it just like a cloud cleared like clockwork. So there's my everybody message. Is that a 3 or an E? An everybody message. I do know this is not true for other people, the idea of writing about emotional trauma and putting on the internet so everyone can read it. No, that would create more emotional trauma. So for whatever it is, whatever uniqueness is in me, this is a time-tested winning process for me, and today it worked with predictable certainty. So I will share my screen and turn. Let me share. Share my screen. I am going to switch to Postmates, and I just have to believe there's Postmates people, again, in and out of New York, who might be saying, God, what does this mean for me? The guy seems sort of blank. The guy, meaning this middle-aged American, seems sort of blank. And I don't think you're going to put words in like clumsy, stupid, slow, thick-headed, stubborn. I think the middle-aged American seems sort of blank, and you might sort of compare yourself to me and think, well, if he got dumped, his relationship with Postmates was severed, he has been terminated, not by his choice, then maybe I will be too. And the answer is you might. So I will, to the best of my ability, attempt to help Postmates in and out of New York try to answer that question. What is it that happened to Tom Duty, and what does it mean to me? Because even though I talk about this like a happy event, but it is now, it is certainly one I wish hadn't happened. It is certainly, if a listener's engaged in Postmates and tuning into me, thinking maybe I have an answer, then you are probably a person who does not want the event that just happened to me to happen to you. I will make no attempt to shorten this. I think I have no reason to believe I'm going to have to get on again. I'm going to feel like there's something else I have to say. If there is, I'm going to write rather than video blog. And I can't find. There we go. Sharing screen. Okay. This Postmates in and out of New York. This is a delivery assignment. It says 48 minutes. So since I've been doing Postmates, 48 minutes means you got 48 minutes. Well, that's a deadline. And if you do it in time, then you're okay. To the best of my ability, I believe my conclusion was wrong. And not really wrong as much as it just wasn't right. This seems obvious. It's a deadline. Do it in 48 minutes and you complete the job satisfactorily. Well, that's sort of true, other than you got a tech company that's aggressive and generally overpromising. So they might give us this deadline, and I think it's the real assignment is not do it in 48 minutes. The true assignment is do it without delay. Do it with a sense of urgency. And some of these assignments, if I were to click on this one, I don't want to, because if it supports my point or it doesn't, it's still irrelevant. Some of them do, and this one might be one, it might not be, and I don't want to take the chance that it is or it isn't. I know they exist, where there is excessive time. Postmates people in New York, Juice Press is one. Maybe out of New York and some of your other cities you have Juice Press also. It's a pretty big company. For reasons I don't understand, Juicemates had generous timetable. I seem to remember them with 40 minutes excess. You know, I got 55 minutes to do something that could be done in 15. You know, if I were hustling, if I had my own bike, that kind of stuff. A guy like me would take 25 if I did it without delay. Well, I would take 50. So, is that a deadline? Looks like it. Do I, Tom Duty, have reason to treat it as a deadline? Yeah. However, what I think is happening is Postmates delivery people are graded on a curve. So with the advanced computers, with one click, they can see that I'm slower than everyone else. I think I'm doing okay because I'm meeting the deadline most of the time. When you push it like I do, you sometimes are late. And I certainly would be late beyond the deadline more than other people, but I'd get on the app consistently and say that I'm late. There's a click, you say I'm late, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Seemed like no big deal. It's a auto pre-fill on the app. Do click, boop, click, you're late. No big deal. So if you take all the performance of everyone and people with their own bikes and people that are doing these delivery assignments, I don't want to say rushing, but doing them without undue delay. Like, for example, I would get a juice press, and it would say 55 minutes, and I know it takes, 20. And because there's people out of New York, Postmates out of New York, juice press, if you don't have them, and even if you do, I said you wouldn't have to understand New York, but I'm wrong. Manhattan has a lot of juice press, so juice press are easy because they're never very far. It's not as numerous as McDonald's or Starbucks, but it's not like Grey Dog, or it's not like these restaurants there's only one or two or three. Chloe, by Chloe. This one right here, there's only one in the city. They're changing that, but at the moment there's only one. With juice press, there's a lot of them, so they're never very far. I get an assignment, I got 55 minutes to do a juice press. Whatever, I'm going to finish my coffee. There are times I'd accept a delivery and then go have a pizza. So, I thought it was okay. And let's face it, these people are ordering juice press. This is not a 911. I'm not saving lives. I'm not an EMT, and there are not any buildings on fire that need my attention. This is someone who wants a health cocktail from Juice Press. So is the deadline real? Postmates people in and out of New York, I'm telling you that if you do it like me and you treat that as a deadline, you might be okay. If you do it like me, you treat it as a deadline, you might be okay if you also keep an eye on your rating. If you also keep an eye on your rating. I did not. Listeners, I went to my tweets to try to find one of the weekly emails that gave my rating, and I couldn't find one. Listeners, if you want to find one, I have plenty of them. You just got to scan and scan and scan. They only come in once a week, and I think they're Friday, so you would have to do a better job of looking than me, but they're in my... here it is, twitter.com/nearlincoln. You just got to go back to a Friday and find one of them. You'll find my rating. I looked at them. I kind of thought mine was low, but I just didn't get it. Like, the only instructions, I've never read anything about keep your rating above 4.6. I have now heard that number multiple times. Today again, and I think once during orientation. So if the number is so important, why don't they put it in writing? This is a reasonable question of me to ask, and especially if it severs my relationship with the company, it's obviously important enough to put in writing. I am testifying, I've never seen it in writing. It should say, if you're below 4.6, come in for a meeting. This company is growing at a crazy pace. You know, a crazy pace. They're getting sued by Jack in the Box because Jack in the Box doesn't. And I think I know I found this report. It's credible, and I think it's an active lawsuit. I don't think Jack in the Box Burgers out in California and Arizona, the Southwest and the West, has relented on this. They want Postmates to stop delivering their burgers. You know, so they've got a battle on that front, and they're not relenting. They're still delivering Postmates burgers, even though they're still delivering Jack in the Box burgers, even though Jack in the Box doesn't want them to. You know, this company has more pressure on them than, you know, dotting their I's and crossing the T's to try to tell people like Tom Duty that they got to keep out for 4-6. No, they say it verbally in an orientation. If a guy like Tom Duty overlooks it, then tough noogies. It is something they just can't, you know, because it's 4-6 today and it might be 4. So, you know, they want the liberty to change it because it changes. I believe we're graded at it's not we anymore. I'm not inclusive in that, but when I was accumulating the minus points to get me severed from Postmates, I believe it was being girded on a curve. So all of a sudden they kind of look at the numbers and say, oh, this guy's kind of low compared to everyone else. Well, something might happen in the weather or the number of restaurants or something on the app, and it sort of changes, and that low number is really low, or that low number isn't so low anymore. So I just think they don't want to put it in writing, and because it's not in writing, I thought it wasn't important, and it is. So my account was unrecoverable. The man that I spoke to today explained, you know, no, you get 250 deliveries, and I've covered this enough. I'm going to quit sharing my screen. That's all I wanted to show. I wanted to show a weekly report. I've got them on my tweets, but I didn't hunt for it. So the man I talked to today said very clearly, hey, if we had caught this, if you had come in to see me, this was me getting slapped around a little bit because I cleverly declined an invitation to go see him. And if you had come see me, you know, when you were 50 or maybe 100 deliveries, and then you made a change, by the time you get to 200, by the time you get to 300, now your averages are looking better. But on the 250, now I got to get to 500 to 750 just to have two parts that are better than my first 250 to try to offset this, the accumulated bad ratings that I have. So I've written a lot about this today, listeners. If you want to post, you know, E for everyone. I can't believe you'd be interested enough that you're even still listening now, or that you want to do more. But Postmates people in and out of New York, I believe sincerely that some of you might want more. So please read from the notice, 5 p.m. New York time. That's a rough estimate. You go down to my Twitter account, 5 p.m. on Monday, find where I tweeted the screenshot to say that my account has been closed, and then I've done a lot of writing since then. Now, a lot of my writing is this emotional process that I go to kind of reconcile with what's not reconciling with my emotional compass. So you got to sift through a lot of junk, but there's a lot there about what I understood and when I understood it. And listeners, if you were to Postmates people in and out of New York, listeners, Postmates people, if you were to do what I said, what happened to me will probably not happen to you. I believe I could have recovered this if I had known early enough what I wasn't doing. The sense of urgency to me seemed like a total blow-off. I just, you know, to me it was a game. It was hey, I got 50 minutes to deliver a health cocktail 3 blocks away. Hey, great, you know, whatever. my income wasn't dependent on this job. So that's it. I'm going to summarize. Listeners, the time on each delivery assignment seems like a deadline. I am not speaking with an authoritative voice. I am speaking with an experience that if you're Postmates and you're current, none of you have, okay? I am telling you that it is my conclusion that what appears to be a deadline is not a deadline. You are to do your delivery assignments without undue delay. So another detriment to my Postmates service is the city bikes, the share bikes. Postmates outside of New York. New York has a great bike share system, and I've seen some other cities that claim they have bike share, and they just don't have the number of racks that New York City has. You really don't have to go far to get a share bike if the bikes are properly distributed. So my point is I was using the share bikes to do the job. And listeners, I think you're going to know the answer to this. How many other people use the share? How many other people do you know using share bikes to deliver for Postmates? That answer would be 0. Now, I did talk to one guy. He was obviously a professional doing deliveries. He's on a share bike. And in number 1, he was embarrassed. And number 2, his bike was broken. So nobody's doing it. And I certainly loved it. I'm using the share bikes like crazy. I used them today, but it was incompatible with. I just wasn't fast enough. I'm like reading the app, trying to figure out where to go. Oh, that rack's empty. Maybe I'll go here. Oh no, maybe I'll walk. You know, it just. And you're supposed to do these deliveries without undue delay. Meanwhile, I'm suffering a low rating because I'm not fast enough, and I'm still effing around with share bikes. Funny. So I'm done with Postmates. This is my Postmates final, and I think my message to Postmates people is done. You know, of course, if you comment, I'll give you more. I'll blog about it. I have to believe that if anyone's trying to extract something from my experience, I haven't answered your questions here because I don't have the answer. If I did, I'd still be hooked up with Postmates, but I'm not. So switching to E for everybody. One of these is a 3 and one of them's an E. E for everybody. This emotional process of writing for me is just pure pleasure. To be able to go, I sat in Dumbo. I deliberately went to just a few blocks from Postmates feeling bad. Sat down in a cafe, started tapping away. They asked me to leave. Great. Because I'm using a computer in a cafe in Dumbo. Well, anyone that knows Dumbo's kind of hip. It's got the HQ of Postmates, a tech juggernaut. And a nearby cafe doesn't let you type? Sounds bad, right? It's worse than that. I wasn't using a laptop. I was using ding, ding, ding. I am deliberately holding like this is no higher than a plate. It was sitting flat on the high top table, and next to it, propped up on my silverware, which was a knife, fork, and spoon, wrapped in a napkin, was this phone. So I've got this Bluetooth keyboard, flat, completely flat, and a phone sitting next to it. They asked me to leave. Now, I use this equipment because I surrendered on laptops because I have been asked to leave a lot of restaurants. I think it's in the neighborhood of a lot of cafes and restaurants. I think it's a neighborhood of 20. I am exaggerating, but not a lot. So I am properly equipped to be able to occupy places that I don't think I can occupy comfortably with a laptop. And they still ask me to leave. Well, what does that timing do to middle-aged American who is wrestling through this emotional trauma, trying to heal my wounds. Well, I'll tell you exactly what it did. It added to the trauma. I'm more pissed off. Now I got something else to write about that has contributed to my trauma, and it just accelerated this healing process that I was in the midst of. So that's my E for everybody. It just and then so I wanted not to leave Postmates very far. So I'm at this nearby cafe. Okay, fine. You want me to leave? I'll leave. I've done this before. Can't believe it, but I'll leave. We're in hip Dumbo. And so now I just take my bucket. I sit out on the sidewalk in the shade. And the shade is critical because I need to be able to see my phone. I can't see my phone in the sun, so everything's fine. I nearly finish my text, and the sun of Dumbo changed, and all of a sudden I'm in the sun. So I went into this, also nearby, this big arch, coolest thing, under the Manhattan Bridge. I sat in the shade, I finished, I started into some phone calls. I also wrote this telemarketing text that is on Twitter, and then I went to a new place, a new location. Now I'm still in Brooklyn, but further from Postmates. In a couple hours, I did my daily telemarketing with this fellow in Florida, and then I did some more writing from Manhattan. But still, Manhattan, very near the Brooklyn Bridge. I crossed the Brooklyn Bridge on a share bike. My point in this is I wanted to kind of like, I didn't want to just run away. You know, I kind of wanted to immerse myself in what had happened to me. I was really disappointed. I was really devastated. It was brief, but it was severe. And so the process of the cafe, eviction, sidewalk, sun, archway, now I'm ready to finish. I'm ready to transition into my calling. I do more calling. Now I'm in Manhattan near the Brooklyn Bridge, and I finish some more writing. Okay. So then I get in a share bike, and I go all the way across the Hudson River and up the Hudson River, which is kind of the happiest way to get to the Lincoln Tunnel. When you're at the Brooklyn Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, people outside of New York, when you're at the Brooklyn Bridge, you want to go to the Lincoln Tunnel. This is not an easy feat. So I went to the Hudson River Parkway and rode along. It was just fantastic. So anyways, this is therapeutic. This is everything. This is a day designed for Tom Duty middle-aged American to heal. So I come in the back door of Port Authority, catch my bus. I'm on the bus, and my biggest piece of trauma passes. What am I going to do with myself tomorrow and this weekend? Incidentally, my wife is in Europe until Tuesday. So I got another weekend as a single man, and I don't have a single life. So a married man that doesn't have his wife, this is not a happy thing. It's not naturally happy for me. Better times for me is when my wife is home. So all of a sudden, I lose Postmates. Well, Postmates was the whole thing. Postmates came into my life because my wife was leaving for 3 weeks. Ding, 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 I'm traumatized. So I'm on the bus, and then I remember that I've got this lead source in marketing that I had forgotten about. I started calling it. I thought it was worth my time, but I was just too attracted to Postmates. So all of a sudden now I just go, bing! Now I know what I'm doing tomorrow and Saturday, and I can justifiably feel like I'm entitled to a Sunday off to like jerk around. I don't know. So anyways, here's my point for everybody. I know this writing is the craziest thing. If you read my blog and you think, oh my God, this guy is like killing himself. You know, how does he do this? I know it's rare. I know very few people would find what I do therapeutic, but there is your testimony. I went from I didn't want to leave Brooklyn. I eventually got kind of drawn across the Brooklyn Bridge. But then I didn't want to leave far from the Brooklyn Bridge. I wanted to kind of like, you know, like it was a funeral. I wanted to experience it. And then, I'm on a bus on my way into my neighborhood, and I think, ding, 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 ding. So there it is. So if you read my blog, and it ever occurs to you, God, how does he do this? How does he put it? There's no question about it. I've had someone close to me read what I wrote after my chow from my Postmates amigo and my eviction from Archway Cafe, Dumbo, Brooklyn, and it is authentic, dark emotion. And then, a bridge and a tunnel and a new state, New Jersey. Now I'm home. I got plans for tomorrow and Saturday, or tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. So I just, this is the message. E for everybody. You're listening. If you listen to me, you might also read. If you read, especially the Archway eviction of today, about noon, you will read a man hurting, wounded, trying to recover. Now here I am before bedtime saying, hey, I got leads, I got plans, I'm fine. And I really am. It's not a game. It's not inauthentic. It's not me trying to kid myself that I'm somehow past this. I'm past this, and it feels good. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.